This is an example of how to do a self-portrait collage. Here you can see an example of one that I did. It's made up out of junk mail, pieces of newspaper, pieces of magazine, and I used a little marker here to kind of provide some details. This is just an example. It's what you're aiming for, but I want you to put your own spin on it. The materials you're going to need are paper. It can be regular printer paper, a pencil, an eraser, scissors. You can also use crayons if you want, markers. The best thing to use is a glue stick. You could also use just Elmer's white glue. However, if you do use this, it's going to, it might buckle a little bit. Okay, so to get you started, you can take your white sheet of paper and you can just sketch out an oval like I did here. Might be a little hard to see on the video, so I'm going to go over it. I just sketched out in pencil, but I'm going over it in a darker crayon so that you can see, just to give you the basic shape. Then what you're going to do next is take some of your magazines, junk mail, old newspapers. If you have any, this is some scrapbook paper that I just had laying around. It has different kind of patterns, things like that. And you're going to go through them and you're going to find things that you think will work for your collage. Let me give you my first example. I started with the eyebrow. Okay, so here's part of a magazine, and this little swirl was in here under this man's portrait. So I just kind of cut it out, and I cut it out into the shape of an eyebrow. So I'm just going to place it there. You'll notice I didn't really sketch out where the eyes should go, the nose and the mouth, and I did that on purpose so you can kind of play around with the collage. But if you want to, you can. What you can also do, before you lay all the facial features down, is you can go through and just kind of find flesh tones that you like. They can be realistic or not, and just kind of fit them in to your collage. I'm just going to lay this all out first. Then, let me see. Here's, it was an advertisement for some furniture, and I thought that these little dishes in here look like eyes. So I cut this one out. So I'm going to put my eyeball there. Let me see. The next thing I did was, this was another part, I believe this was a dog's collar. So I just cut that out, and you can see I didn't cut around it all the way. I just kind of cut the shape out, and what I'm going to do, I think, is kind of layer it underneath the eye. And as you saw in the other video, one of the keys to doing it is to layer things. This image is actually, if you look very close, it's a turkey leg. So I cut that out for my nose. Again, it doesn't have to be as realistic as the example I showed you. You're just kind of going for looking for some different textures, different patterns, different colors, and seeing how they can all work into a self-portrait collage. The next thing I did, these were actually just flowers, so I kind of cut them out in a lip shape. Then this, I'm going to make some hair. So what I did, this was actually the pattern to a woman's shirt. So I just kind of cut out, like you can see I cut a curl. Here's kind of a wild curl. Another piece that might go under here. Again, the key is really to layering it. And you just kind of put all, arrange them. You notice I didn't glue anything yet. And the reason I didn't do that is because I want to kind of see how I want to arrange it. Maybe I like the hair that way. Maybe I'm going to change my mind. Maybe I want some of it hanging over here. So you can kind of play around with it and see what works best. Then you can glue it down. Again, like I said, A glue stick, just Elmer's glue stick or whatever you can find, works the best. If not, this kind of glue, which is also fine, then you can just glue it down. If you want to do the skin tone first, I would definitely glue that down. Just, turn it over, pretty simple. Glue it on. Don't worry if it's like right in between the lines, you can play around with this. And then if you wanted to, like I said, layer it, you would just find some more and then glue down all your other pieces and arrange them however you want it. Another thing you can do is if you don't want to find all the different flesh tones, like you saw in this one, this took quite a lot of time. You can just take a crayon, and you can just fill the skin tone in. Crayon, marker, colored pencil, paint if you have it, whatever. So you're going to glue all your components down. I'm not going to go through the whole thing because you get the basic idea. Okay. And then you can make a background. You could draw a neck if you want. And then you'll have, this is the facial self-portrait collage. If you wanted to do something a little bit easier, what you could do is just take an already pre-made picture like this one, and you could seriously just cut out her eyes. You could find another picture with somebody with different kind of eyes, cut out another eye, and assemble them into your own portrait. That's a little bit easier. You can also do a full body portrait. Again, you could cut out, different body parts from the newspaper. Let's see. If you find, like for example, this one, you can also rip them. For example, you might want to cut her arm out and you might find an arm for somebody else and kind of combine them all into your portrait. So it could be a full body portrait or just a regular portrait. The most important thing is to make sure just everything is pasted down once you decide that's where you want it to go. And that's about it. I look forward to seeing your results. Thanks.